things. I got phone calls.
Right. So I'm just trying to keep a look at your schedule and let you know.
Molly and Victor would probably be the best to really.
I need to tell. Yeah, okay. I didn't know if you wanted to be the one to do it or you wanted.
Mayor and I'll put you in on Thursday.
Right, or tomorrow, when.
Yeah, a lot going on, the big picture.
Right.
And then, they have all that detail going.
Right, she handed out. She, but yeah, we didn't want to do it too far in advance, but I didn't want to wait till the last weekend before.
Biggest.
So, but we can wait.
Yeah.
People are really. Unfortunately, yeah. So anything except Wednesday, we might use some of that.
If they aren't able to do it, I'll be glad to do it.
And then Harry said something like, you don't need to call them. And I know. Next Friday.
So that's
It'll be the Friday before, but ours broke up like a week before that, and then first Friday, so.
I told them. Yeah, if they can't do it, I'll be glad to do it.
Oh, that's fine, I wanted to ask you whether you wanted, I wanted to start at the top, so you can say, this is who I need to talk to.
Well,
I'll talk to Molly.
Victor and Molly will be here.
Okay, I'll email her.
We'll give you the.
Well, yeah, Bob will probably make a copy.
Yeah.
Here's that.
Last stroke here. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good, thank you. Yeah. We're gonna run this for you. Which is not the weekend before the election, but 2 weeks. So I just asked Scott, I said, who is it do you want me to talk to for the state? And he said, Molly. So can you look at your schedule and see, I'm busy Monday and Tuesday of next week. So, I mean, we could do it later this week, or we could do it Wednesday, let's see, Wednesday of next week, Wednesday, Thursday. So I'm writing it by Friday. So I kind of need to kind of.
How much time?
Well, I mean, we could do it later this week if next week's not gonna work for me at all.
Oh, I can find the time next week.
We can do it.
You're gone, but you're gone Monday and Tuesday. Next week?
I'm here, I mean, I'm covering stuff, but I don't, one which may be a trial, so that I should plan it right there. But, I mean, I can do it later this week.
I can fit it in Wednesday.
It really doesn't matter. I'd rather do it this way. He just said, well, I need to talk to you. Whatever. So look at your schedule and you shoot me what time to work this out. I'll be writing it up.
Fantastic. How are you?
Here, you.
Okay.
So as long as you get that figured out. Yeah. Whoever you want to have. The mayor's going to run this one. So we'll come
Wednesday.
That list is really good.
Yeah.
Then we'll have coffee next week. So we have a weekend before.
Sure. Yep.
Anyway, just let me know.
Yeah. I am open almost all day. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about. Have conversation.
I'll talk to you.
Yeah, sure enough. Right.
Hey, Jared. Our first meeting. Memorial.
You know what
Is there a restroom? Okay, that's
You're back again?
You still off?
Yeah. Hey, Alan, how are you?
Charter? Oh, Charter TV's not gonna work.
I see what's going on now.
Yeah, no, that. This is just.
So, yeah. I'm ready.
And then, work, and I agree.
It is 5 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the July 15th meeting of the Cape City Council. We're going to begin with Pastor Phil Brooks, our Bethel Assembly of God, giving us the invocation. Thank you.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the day you've given us. Thank you for the break in the weather. Father, the rain stopped a little bit. You're in control of that. Thank you that you're also still in control of the matters of governing and of men when it comes to our country. Thank you for that, God. God, we ask for wisdom for our council tonight, God, as they deliberate, as they set policy memorandums, God. We thank you for our mayor, for the city council. God, we thank you for our police department and the fire department that are always on the ready. Thank you for the chiefs of both those. And God, we ask that you would give them grace and strength. God, we ask that you would also just surround our city during this summertime. God's safety for the children and youth as they're on vacation, and families as they travel. God, we ask for resolve for East Cape and McClure at this time, and God, for safety for the things that are happening down the Gulf at the mouth of the river, God, in New Orleans, that you would just stem the tide of the storms and the levees, and you would give great wisdom to all the first responders there. Father, thank you for just directing our steps tonight, and thank you for this time. We pray this in the mighty name of Jesus. Everyone says, amen.
Please join me in pledge allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have one presentation this evening. I'm going to come down front for that. John Richenberg, come on down. Got your speech prepared? Oh, I can say a little. It's not going to be 30 minutes. John's been with the city for 31 years. Started as a comptroller in January 1st, 1988. Became city treasurer in September of '89, finance director in 1993. He served 5 mayors since he's been here: Gene Rhodes, Alice Braddock, Jake Newsom, Harry Rediger, and under myself. 5 city managers in that 31 years: Gary Ide, Ronald Fisher, Michael Miller, Doug Leslie, and Scott. He has done a superb job preparing our annual budget each year. And we've had just impeccable audits since he's been here. And that's a big plus. You don't want to be a city and have a bad audit, right? We have received several Excellence in Financial Reporting Awards under John's direction. He's also managed the funds for several sales tax initiatives, 5 different transportation sales tax initiatives, 2 parks and rec, and stormwater taxes, the fire sale tax, and capital improvement sales tax. He's managed several bonds and investments for the city, and the list of capital improvements financed and constructed during 31 years is so long we couldn't get it on 2 or 3 pieces of paper. But we really appreciate John's service to the city and what you've done. We appreciate your conservatism and how you've been with the budgets. You've done an impeccable job. Big shoes to fill. Big Brother knows that. In appreciation and recognition over 31 years of loyal and faithful service to the city of Cape Girardeau, presented this 12th day of July 2019 by the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, to honor the retirement of John Richenberg for service to the Finance Department, 1988 to 2019. Not just kidding about the speech. I know you want to say something. Here's a box for that, by the way.
Some of this be a repeat from Friday, but it's worth saying again, because working with the city truly has been a blessing to me and my family. I've been involved to raise our kids in an area of the country where we were born and raised, and where we wanted to raise our kids, and the city of Cape provided that opportunity for us. It's also allowed me to work with, I won't correct you here, 4 city managers. I think he wasn't here. I think he's already gone when I got here. But it's been a privilege to work with the 4 different city managers. They all have their own methods of how they approach things, but they all had the same thing in mind: providing a better place for city citizens to live and providing a better place for the workers to work. And that's been consistent throughout the years. And it's also allowed me to work with a lot of bright and good people and city staff and throughout the city. And, that's been a real honor deal to do. And before I get out of here, I want to thank my staff. I've had a diligent, hardworking staff during 31 years. And I know they won't want me to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I want to introduce them and just have them stand up. Jane Rice Beckley, Mary Thompson, Julie Munson, Kendra Bowes, and no longer in our staff, but on the back row there's Cindy Rediker. And they made my job a lot easier.
Introduce your family as well, John. Let's embarrass them too.
So, Barbara, you will stand up, and if you grab Avery. Avery is my first granddaughter. And Rebecca works for the Parks Department, and then Todd works for the plan reviewer.
Thank you all. Thank you very much, John.
Oh, you're welcome.
John's effect is going to be, he was here a little less than the generation's 40 years. But the effect of what he led and the finances and the reputation of the city's finances is multi-generational and will be effect. Well, when your granddaughter is a grandmother, will still be going on. So thank you for that. Thank you, Marcy. Communications and reports. Does the council have anything? Don't everybody speak at once. It's up to me then. I will say that I've been in this city for 44 years, going on 45, and I've been at a lot of 4th of July celebrations, and this year was by far the best. I had more people call and compliment our city on the fireworks display they had this year than you can't imagine the calls I got. People that were out on Kings Highway or were around the area and saw it. And I think John Russ said it best. You had to be there in the grandstand to see everything, because there's a lot of those things that were going off constantly. You couldn't see from way back there on Kings Highway or somewhere else. So think next year about that and be there in that arena grandstand and see that display, because it was superb. It was something to behold. Great way to spend American birthday. Thanks to you. I was out of town last week and missed some things. I missed the Irish Park ribbon cutting. I think Robbie went for that. There are a lot of things happening in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks really, before the election in August. Several council members and myself and a lot of staff people are giving presentations to various community groups, civics clubs and whatnot, just to inform people on, about the taxing issues and the importance of it, and all aspects and everything it will cover. So that's a big thing, and I'll miss some of that time because I had a week of vacation planned that last week of July before the election, but I will be back. Part of that will be at the Missouri Main Street meeting in St. Louis, the 24th and 25th, and then some of that next week. So, we got a lot going on. Nothing to report other than what you've already said. I think you're exactly right. It was a great celebration. And, we really encourage people to find out all the information they can about the capital improvement tax. It's our intent to, as we have it all, to tell citizens what we want to do with the funds, and then we will accomplish it as we have. So I think that's important. And if anybody has any group you'd like us to come and give the information, we'd be glad to. Everybody else? All right, we'll move on. Name is on the report. Mr. Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Planning and Zoning Commission met on Wednesday, July 10th. We received a presentation from Mr. Meyer on the capital improvement tax. We had 3 public hearings. The first of those was a public hearing on the request of the Clifford Family Trust for an exception from Development Code Section 25-604A, fence height and surface requirements. That exception request was approved by a vote of 9-0. We had a public hearing on a request of coast-to-coast signs for an exception from Development Code Section 25-506J1, directional signs at 150 South Mount Auburn Road. That request was approved with staff condition, had to do with the amount of square footage of signage on the site. That was approved 9-0. Then we had a public hearing on the request of Pyro Signs, Inc. for an exception from Development Code Section 25-506B, freestanding signs at 156 Vantage Drive. That one was approved 8-0 with 1 abstention. And then we also approved, or recommended approval, I'm sorry, of Sabella's first division record plat. And that was a 9-0 vote in favor of that recommendation. I could answer any question.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody here to appear before the council for any item not on the agenda this evening? Anybody to appear for any item not on the agenda this evening? Anybody jumping up? If not, we'll go into agenda review. Scott?
Okay, we have the consent agenda. Items 2, 3, and 4 are the second and third readings of the annex properties out in the LaSalle area. Then item 5 is a rezoning of property on Baldwin Drive, second and third reading of that. And then number 6 is the medical marijuana facilities, the second and third reading of that. Starting number 7, we have resolutions for a demolition contract at 1018 Good Hope, and then another one at 1418 North Spanish. These are condemned properties that we're now moving to demolition on. And then number 9 is a performance guarantee for the Southeast Health West Campus. 10 is the emergency solutions grants to Salvation Army Steakhouse for Women Community Partnership for Southeast Missouri and the Catholic Charities. This is a thing we do each year. These are 4 great agencies that work with us on emergency solutions grants for housing. Number 11 is the agreement for Councilman Hunsucker. We've council has asked to remove this from the consent agenda so we can modify that when we do the adoption of the agenda. Just one of the quick explanations. I was asked, well, what's the overlap between this agreement and the last one? The last agreement when we did it with Olson was more of a planning type of agreement, and we thought that would carry through as we looked at sites. As it turned out, the committee voted quicker to partner with the school system, and therefore didn't get into a lot of the specific site plans and site investigation as deep as we thought we might. So I think that first contract was don't go 55,000 out. We ended up spending 30,000. So if you take this agreement, add this to it, it's about the same planned amount. We could have used the same consultant, but we thought it was a good time to look at this and see if there was a better match for this part. Now that we have more site concepts and preliminary design work, we felt like that Councilman Hunsucker, with their Midwest experience, was a better fit for looking at this portion of it and doing the next section. Now, the work that was done with
Olson is continued to be used and will continue to be used. They're not gonna be duplicating any of that. It's really just a change in who's gonna do this portion of it, given the change. Also, we've changed from, one committee to now a larger committee to kind of bring in all the different ideas into what's gonna, be priorities for this particular site, with the budget that, they're still working on. So, probably gives more, definition to that. I know, we didn't have all the details worked out on the agreement, so what you saw was a draft. There's a few things in there that we pointed out that would be changing. One thing is that I think that they had proposed that they would already be the next, the design consultant for the aquatics. We're just that's our option, that's ours and school's option, that's not a done deal, so that would be a change that would be in that. Well, I think there's some questions about the cost of, some of the documents look like maybe just making copies was gonna cost a lot, we'll be going through that and working on those details. So, we'll pull that off and have that discussion, offline unless you have any questions now. If not, number 12 is a resolution for a license indemnity agreement for, the Schlosser Trust. This is at 55 FEMA Street. On the FEMA side, it's going to be I think about a 3-foot sign, 12 foot off the air. Then approval of the performance guarantee agreement with the Highlands of Copper Crossing, reducing their credit, line of credit, or their credit letter significantly, because their work is done, about 3/4 of their work is done. And then appointing our new finance director as city treasurer. So that's the consent agenda. Other items besides number 11 we'd like to remove. If not, we have 2 record plats tonight under new ordinances. The first one is at Southeast Health West Campus. This takes several lots and combines them into 2 lots. And then the other one is the record plat for U-Haul, which takes 2 lots and makes it into 1. Mayor, I think you have a couple of appointments tonight, and we have the other business. You have the mayor pro tem position. So that'll be all. There'll be no closed session.
Good, thank you. At this point, I will call the regular session to order and have a roll call, please.
Ryan A6,
Here.
Bob Fox,
Here.
Ronnie Gard, Stacy Kinder.
Here.
Shelley Moore.
Here.
Dan Preston.
Here.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda with the number 11 being removed from the consent agenda. So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Ryan, second by Stacy. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there anybody here tonight to appear before the council for an item that's on the agenda this evening? Anybody here to appear before the council for an item that's on the agenda this evening? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Eric?
Number 19-103, ordinance annexing unincorporated land in the city limits of the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, located at 4195 and 4196 Stonecrest and 4150 South of Alexander, primary postal property lines. Ordinance annexing unincorporated land into the city limits of the city of Cape Girardeau, located at 4195, 4196 Stonecrest and 4150 South of Alexander, primary postal property lines. 19-104, an ordinance amending chapter 30, of ordinances of the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, by zoning and moving the properties located at 4195 and 4196 Stonecrest and 4150 South of Alexander, R1 single family Georgian residential district. An ordinance amending chapter 30, code of ordinances of the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, by zoning and moving the next properties located at 4195 and 4196 Stonecrest and 4150 South of Alexander, R1 single family suburban residential district. -105, an ordinance extending the boundaries of Ward 4 to include properties newly annexed into the city limits of the city of Cape Coral, Missouri, an ordinance extending the boundaries of Ward 4 to include properties newly annexed into the city limits of the city of Cape Coral, Missouri. 19-106, an ordinance in chapter 30, the code of ordinances of the city of Cape Coral, Missouri, changing the zoning property located at 3567, 3569, and 3575, 3577 Baldwin Drive in the city of Cape Coral, Missouri, from C2 to R3, in ordinance in chapter 30, the code of ordinances of the city of Cape Coral, Missouri, by changing the zoning of property located at 3567, 3569, and 3575, 3577 Baldwin Drive in the city of Cape Coral, Missouri, from C2 to R3. 19-107, an ordinance in chapter 30, the code of ordinances of the city of Cape Coral, Missouri, regarding medical marijuana facilities and personal cultivation of medical marijuana. An ordinance in chapter 30, the code of ordinances of the city of Cape Coral, Missouri, regarding medical marijuana facilities and personal cultivation of medical marijuana. 19-109, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute demolition contract with Lawrence D. Sarah Jr. for the demolition of a building located at 1018 Hill Street in the city of Cape Coral, Missouri. 19-2010, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a demolition contract with Steve's Hauling and Excavating for the demolition of a building located at 1418 North Spring Street in the city of Cape Coral, Missouri. 19-111, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute performance guarantee agreement with Cape Coral Behavioral Health LLC in Southeast Southwest Campus in the city of Cape Coral, Missouri. 19-114, a resolution authorizing an application to the Missouri Housing Development Commission under the 2020 Emergency Solutions Grant Program. Salvation Army Safe House for Women, community partnership with Southeast Missouri, Catholic Charities, and Southern Missouri, authorizing the city manager to execute necessary grant documents. 19-116, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute license and indemnity agreement with Bradley Stockton Trust for improvements located at 55 Main Street, 46 North Main Street, in the city of Cape Coral, Missouri.
Before you consent agenda, I make a motion to approve that. Motion by Dan, do I have a second? Second, sure. Any discussion?
I just want to say, before we pass it, whenever these demolition orders come up, and especially ones that are in the Red Star neighborhood or other neighborhoods where there are, there's building stock that is in bad condition. It's bad condition, and so it's always good to see the city move forward with removing properties that are concerning their neighbors. And for example, one of these two properties, that the neighbors had actually reached out to me specifically about this property, and it's great to actually see this get the demolition order. So it's just a good example of how we're really strengthening our neighborhoods by kind of removing some of the housing stock that's in really terrible condition.
I know Shelley's had several people ask about different properties down there too, and that process is still ongoing. It's just a long process. It takes time.
Yeah, so I mean, as a country, we believe in private property is important, and the ownership of that is important, and the control of that is important, but it also is important because it's next to the neighbors who their value is so it's a long process in order to make sure that everybody gets every chance to remedy before we take it in our own hands.
Okay.
I also, unrelated, I just, on number 14, I want to congratulate Victor on his new position and his appointment as the city treasurer. Big shoes to fill, but I'm sure he'll do well.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will now deal with bill number 19-115, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Councilman Husker for design services related to the indoor park facility project in the city of Cape Coral, Missouri. Motion made and seconded. Motion by Dan, second by Michelle. Any discussion?
So just in this process, how many more, I think a lot of people see the word consultant, and everybody gets a little tired of seeing the word consultant. How many more consultants will be needed? Is this the last consultant?
Well, we also said we're not going to guarantee them that they get the design contract, because we want to make sure that we have the leverage to talk to them, and if we can't come to an agreement with them regarding that portion to be able to go back out. Certainly, if they're a good fit and we can come to a financial agreement, they would probably be used for the design part. If not, then that would be, could be a new one.
That's more an architect.
We're very, yeah, that's an architectural thing. This is those pre-planning kind of consultants that I think people get kind of wary of reading about.
Yeah, sometimes planning, you think, well, how come you can't do planning yourself? Well, we have great staff and great planning staff too, but sometimes they don't have the expertise in certain areas. This one we do not have the expertise in. Would not be affordable for us to get to have the expertise under staff to look at aquatics, and the stakes are high. Yes, $10–15 million for the construction cost. The operating, could be up to $1 million a year. So we're trying to make sure and that's for decades. So we want to make sure that we get not only a facility that's built within budget, within scope to do what we want to do, but also that we can afford to operate it. So those are really important things, and we want good consultants to help us make those decisions and to help the committee go through the process, because this part of their work is going to be answering the committee's questions. So I wish I could answer and say, well, never going to have another consultant again. But no, I really don't, because I think it's important that we hire experts when they're needed. But I can understand some of the fatigue sometimes.
Well, and I think it's good, exactly what you just said. I think that actually answers a couple of questions in my mind. You hear, and I think you hear rumors, you see Facebook posts flying around that are unsourced about operational costs and operational expenses. And so it'll be really nice to actually get our brains wrapped around, all of this, and to have a specialist come in and do that and look at it, and look at the hardcore, build out everything for it, and especially experts in their field. That just makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah, and Councilman Hunsucker has worked a lot in the Midwest, which, when you talk about this humidity, that's a big deal when it comes to having an aquatic facility. Humidity and how you're going to deal with that humidity is a big deal. One of the things I asked him about, even recently, is about what about some open air stuff in the summertime to help mitigate some of our operational costs. They just built one, or they just helped design one that had that. So that's an important part.
Yeah, I think that, I probably got some of the same calls and heard some of the same people that you did about the consultant fatigue. And, I thought about that and, I talked to the mayor about it. And I think that, in my business, I have to hire consultants sometime. And, my answer to that is I don't believe, I could be wrong, I don't believe there are any city employees that are currently on staff that have designed or built a $15 million aquatic center before. And I think we do have great staff, but I think if this is one opportunity where we do need to bring someone in that has the expertise and that can get us across the finish line, because that's the end goal. The voters said that we want you to do this, and we need to just push forward and do it now that we have a location in mind.
Well, if you do something, you want to do it right.
Yeah.
You don't want to, the least little mess up here and there could cost you thousands and thousands of dollars, a lot more than a consultant would cost. And I think we, as council members, are trusted to spend tax dollars wisely, and I think this is a wise use of the money to make sure that it's done correctly to begin with. That's a big deal, especially when you're talking about $10–15 million for the.
And, when I first saw this, it was, we're going to hire another consultant. But, when you go back and start looking at the previous, this is just a continuation of that. It essentially fits into the scope of the resolution that was passed authorizing the $55,000. And so I think it's just, at this point, it's just bringing in someone new, some fresh eyes that have maybe a little more experience working in this part of the country and building these things. So,
Anybody else?
Yeah, Scott, you touched on it earlier. Can you maybe go back a little bit, explain a little more deeply, just maybe reassure us and the public about that the idea of not paying again for
Right.
something that perhaps our previous consultant did give us or didn't give us, or maybe we paid for but we didn't get, or maybe we did.
Well, exactly. And
How
again,
that all worked.
money wise, they did about, a little over half of the work that we thought that they were gonna do. We did 30,000 out of $55,000 of the work that we thought they were gonna do. All the work that they did is ours. It's owned by the city. And so, yes, we're gonna build on that and use that. We're not asking Council Huntsman to go back and look at that. A lot of that work was planning work. So they were looking at multiple sites. They were looking at multiple decisions, trying to size the pool, trying to help the committee have information in order to make decisions on what partnership to proceed with and how to proceed with. That, once that decision was made, and it was made based on the timing of a upcoming election, then that stopped, and then the election happened, and now it's time to pick it up. The city and the school wanted to expand and bring all the partners together and look at the scope of what we're doing, the actual things that we're doing. That now is at a particular site with a particular scope, with a range of budget. And so now it's setting those priorities. Well, that's more detailed work that's particular to this site. So that's work that the other consultant didn't do. Any work that they did though, they will use.
Yeah, and just zero in on this point, we didn't pay them to do that, and they,
No.
in other words, we paid them for what they did, but we feel like that was fair.
Right.
We're happy with what we got, and now we're able to not pay them anymore and move on to another.
Yeah, they evaluated sites in kind of grand scale, looking at the access and different factors, stormwater, and so they look on a grand scale. Now then, this consultant will look at, okay, well, if the school's building this facility and then we're attaching this facility and then we're having parking's gonna have to move here, then what does those foundations look like? And what, would it be better to move those foundations in a different place? So that's much more detailed information that they'll be getting site specific.
And can you explain, just maybe in general, or maybe however specific you can, just how the current aquatics committee and the city will work with this consultant and the process and timeline, or maybe the timeline's too vague right now, but how the city and the committee will work.
Well, and the school.
And
What involvement
yes,
will the school
yes.
have in that process?
Yes.
And I've sat down with Neil and talked about this contract, and we're all in step that we think this is the right match for the rest of this particular time for this committee. My understanding of this committee, and of course, the mayor's on it, so I've addressed the matter, but this committee is coming together to share what all the different stakeholders would want, and all these are stakeholders in the aquatic facility, and they are going to share what they want, and then together they're going to try to set some priorities of what they would want. And then the consultant then will look at those priorities, and given this site, and given, what the school's going to build, what they believe those amenities will cost, and then look at funds raised. There's 10 million. They're trying to raise additional funds up to maybe 15 million. So somewhere between there, what should be the scope and build? So that's my understanding of what
It is, and I think one of the biggest questions was, it's hard to get things done with a huge committee of like 21 people. But if you're gonna involve all the stakeholders, and we even made it a point to include even those school districts who don't necessarily partner with us in this, but they use it for practice and whatnot. We even included Jackson, who does this, because we thought if we're gonna include all the districts, why not include them also, Saxon, Notre Dame, the athletic directors of all those schools as part of this committee. But we want their input too. And, maybe through this, maybe Jackson would using this facility instead of, the one southeast. But there are a lot of stakeholders involved. And, we've got to have their input into not only the capital cost, but what operations are we gonna have? What kind of, we're gonna have a leisure concept. We're gonna have a chance to actually, make some money doing this and generate some revenue. There are a lot of aspects that go into this, and we've got to look at everything. So that's big.
As far as timeline for deliverables on it, I'm sorry.
No,
As far as timeline for deliverables on this, so it's a 120-day contract, right? And
I believe
that's not, no.
Yeah, I think that's true.
and they're gonna make a couple of trips for different things, 3 trips. This is gonna all come together in one report at the end, or the information will
They're hoping
funnel out
to try
throughout.
to get this, just keep it as concise as possible, because we've already done a lot of legwork. We've already done a lot of work with the other consultants.
Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of looking at programming and looking at cost estimates, not only, like I said, for capital, but for all that operational. And that all depends on what programs you have, They've got all the stakeholders there, so they want to see what they want to have in here. Do they want that leisure concept? Do they want an area where little kids can swim, or where seniors can do water aerobics? There's so many different aspects of aquatics that you gotta look at everything. You gotta look at the cost of those, and whether you're gonna recoup that cost.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get it concise and get it, part of the reason they'd like to move ahead on this pretty quick is because at the same time, the school is also, sharing their design for what they want to do to the school. And if you can, by chance, get these to kind of go together, you may save some costs in construction doing some of that together. So
Yeah, I see that during the meetings, they're gonna work with the architect from the school.
that's important.
Yeah, I just think that on the third bullet, the cost analysis, that's gonna be incredibly important to make sure we get it right, the ongoing operational
There's
problems.
no way that we've got anybody here that I know of that can, with the expertise to give you those estimates based on the experience they have around the country. I mean, Julie's got a great staff, but
It's a big project.
it's a big project. It's a big deal. Stacy?
Two more questions, kind of, right on what Ryan was talking about. If there are any changes, you mentioned the one, potential, to change to this agreement, how does that, will there be the ability, the next?
Sure, and anything we change, I'll share with you before we sign.
Okay, well, and that brings me back around to my last question, pertaining to what we were talking about earlier about, so the Cape City Council is now taking ownership of this agreement with this consultant. Is that correct? We've talked about different stakeholders,
Yes.
even people in different cities, but
Yes.
this is a Cape Girardeau hire
Yes.
and a project in Cape Girardeau that is responsible for Cape Girardeau taxpayers.
Right.
And this is part of the $6 million.
And we, we believe that, we're the right people to operate it and build it. So we are taking ownership.
Well, yeah, and maybe finally for well, I think we're at that point where, and there's been, through this whole process, there've been a lot of different entities involved, but just trying to make sure we're all on the same page, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes. We're all on the same page.
Yeah, I did talk to you about that.
Well, right, so what does that look like, the communication with the school district, or how would we hear, or if there's concern, in the school districts?
Well,
Side of
whatever
things.
we come up with still has to be approved by the city council and the school board, so that's how.
And the school board?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so the
I
way
guess
that,
that's what I'm asking. How
The
does
way
this
I
work?
understand the
committee is, the committee's going to come up with desires and then prioritize them. And then there's also some folks trying to raise funds as well. And then when that prioritized list comes forward, and then maybe kind of a phased project, you know, I think as being a phased project, that recommendation then would go to the city council and to the school board to be approved. And then both would have to approve it before we move forward.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Bottom line. But I still had someone say something about the cost, and even when you consider heading what we spent for both consultants together, which is about $55,000 to $56,000, and you look at a project that's 10 to 15 million, it's less than 0.5% of the total cost. And it's minuscule. The architectural fees will add up and make that go up a little bit more, but anytime you've got a big project like that, you've gotta do it smart, you've gotta do it right, so I think we're on the right track.
So the costs here are up to that, but stopping before that architectural part,
Yes,
something like you were
yes,
doing.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we would bring back to you a architectural.
Okay, anything else? Okay, you have before you a motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 19-112, ordinance approving a retroplat of Southeast Southwest campus.
So moved.
Motion by Dan,
Second.
second by Ryan. Any discussion? This is the behavioral health hospital, and the behavioral hospital on the road. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 19-113, ordinance approving the retroplat of U-Haul at Cape Girardeau subdivision.
So moved.
Motion by Ryan.
Second.
Second by Stacy. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We have some appointments this evening. The first is to the Historic Preservation Commission, and that is Peter Reckler. Can I get a motion for that?
Yes.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The second are the appointment of one member to the Public Library Board of Trustees. And that person is selected is to be Cynthia Highschmidt, sorry. Can I hear a motion? Motion by Dan, second by Shelley. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We have one other item of business, and that is to elect some more members of the Mayor Pro Tem. Entertaining nomination.
I'll make a motion to, appoint Robbie Guard as the mayor pro tem.
Not because he's not here.
No, because he's a senior guy, you know.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Dan.
And because he's not here too.
Not a big deal. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We have no closed session.
Move to adjourn.
Motion made second, motion by Ryan, second by Shelley. Good, sweet. I think we've had meetings quick and a long time.
There was an 11-minute meeting when you were out of town.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
11 minutes.
We adjourn?
Vote to adjourn.
Vote to adjourn. All those in favor?
All in favor, say aye. Or you're not doing me. Thinking adjourn anyway.
By the way,